So this is probably one of the hardest things for parents, that often children, even pretty young children, know when they're dying and don't always feel they have permission to talk about it, particularly with their parents. And parents don't always want to talk about it with their children. It's too sad, they're going to cry, it's going to be too frightening. Sometimes they're afraid if they talk about it, it's a little the magical thinking that I've talked about before, that if we talk about it, it's going to make it happen. But it's really important for children to feel like it's okay to talk about it, because the fantasy is usually far worse than the reality, and they need that kind of comfort and reassurance. And for children who are older, sometimes older latency into teens, sometimes they have an idea of actually what they want. There may be things they want to give away to their friends. They may have music they want played at their funeral. They may have a sense of who they want to speak. They may have a sense of what they want to wear. There are all kinds of things that often kids actually have thought about and don't have a place to talk about it. So for parents, and sometimes with the help of somebody else, to be able to actually talk about those things can be enormously relieving to the child, and really ultimately benefit the parents as well, because then they know and they get to sort of make arrangements for things that they know their child wanted. It can be very difficult to have these conversations about knowing that the child is going to die. I think it's very important where you can to include some of the medical professionals as well, whether it's sort of a psychologist on a team or one of the doctors, to be able to sit down and have this information. It's also important to follow the child's lead, because children, not unlike the two parents, may have a particular style of wanting to know and having lots of questions, and not wanting to know. If it gets to the point, though, where it's really important, particularly for an older child, to know that this is likely not going to have a good outcome and that they are going to die, that you have to think about, again, this is not a one-time conversation. This may be the initial conversation, which can be excruciatingly painful, and parents feel very guilty that no way should I have to be sitting here having this conversation with my child that we gave birth to. There's no way, this isn't the right order of things, this isn't what's supposed to happen. And at the same time, the child actually has the right to know if he or she wants that information. So being able to, even with the guilt and even with the pain, have this conversation. And again, it might be a very short conversation at first. It opens up and it sends the message that we actually can talk about this, even if we're all crying, even if we don't really want to be having this conversation, even if we're hoping that this never happens, that we can actually have this conversation, and we can have other conversations after this. It isn't necessarily a one-time conversation.